The Mercedes exploded. Not metaphorically, not dramatically. The bulletproof G-Wagon actually erupted in flames 90 seconds after Thandi Mbatha dragged a dying stranger from its twisted metal shell. She felt the heat blast against her back as she stumbled away, her arms wrapped around a man who weighed twice what she did, his blood soaking through her interview blazer, the blazer her sister had saved 2 months' salary to buy. The same blazer she'd put on at 7:30 that morning with trembling hands and desperate prayers. The same blazer she was supposed to wear to the most important interview of her life. 8 minutes ago. The man in her arms went limp, his head lolling against her shoulder. His blood, so much blood, painted her neck crimson. Around them, Seoul's morning rush hour crowd scattered like frightened birds, their screams mixing with sirens that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. No, 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 stay with me. Thandi's voice cracked as she lowered him to the concrete sidewalk. Her hands, shaking violently, pressed her silk scarf, her mother's last birthday gift, against the gash splitting his forehead open. Look at me. Bika Kimmy. His eyes opened. Dark. Intense. Even through the haze of shock and blood loss, they locked onto hers with an intensity that stole her breath. Who? His voice was gravel and smoke. Who are you? Behind them, the Mercedes released another groan of tortured metal. Flames licked higher. Someone screamed about the gas tank. Thandi pressed harder against his wound, her own hands slick with his blood. Someone who just destroyed her entire life for you. So you better survive this, do you hear me? His lips twitched, almost a smile. Then his eyes rolled back and consciousness left him. The paramedics arrived in a chaos of uniforms and urgent Korean. Professional hands pried her away. She stumbled backward, suddenly aware of everything. Her ruined clothes, her bleeding palms cut on broken glass, the time on her cracked phone screen. 9:04 a.m. 4 minutes late. Too late. The job interview at JK Pharmaceuticals, the fourth largest pharmaceutical empire in Asia, the position that might as well have had her name written on it, the opportunity that was supposed to justify 3 years of struggle and 53 rejections, was over before she'd even arrived. As the ambulance doors closed on the stranger she'd saved, his eyes found hers one last time through the window. Even semi-conscious, even dying, his gaze held something that made her knees weak. Recognition, gratitude, and something far more dangerous. Then he was gone, racing toward a hospital somewhere in this massive city. And Thandi? She stood alone on a blood-stained sidewalk, watching her Korean dream burn with the wreckage of a bulletproof Mercedes. What she didn't know, what she couldn't possibly know, was that the man she just saved wasn't just any stranger. He was Kang Min-Jun, crime lord, kingmaker, the most dangerous man in Seoul. And he never forgot a debt. Before we begin, please hit that like button, share this video and subscribe. It helps the channel more than you know. The clock on Thandi Mbatha's cracked phone screen read 8:32 a.m. She had exactly 28 minutes to reach the most important interview of her life, and the Seoul metro was packed like sardines in a tin. 28 minutes to salvage 3 years of struggle. 28 minutes to prove her mother wrong, that leaving Johannesburg for South Korea hadn't been the colossal mistake everyone said it was. Her fingers trembled as she clutched the leather portfolio her younger sister had saved 2 months' salary to buy her. Inside, her carefully printed resume listed credentials that should have opened doors. Master's degree in international business from UCT, fluency in English, Zulu, Afrikaans and conversational Korean, 5 years of export management experience. Instead, she'd collected 53 rejections like bitter souvenirs. But today was different. Today was JK Pharmaceuticals, the fourth largest pharmaceutical empire in Asia. The job posting might as well have had her name written on it. International Trade Director, African Markets Expansions. Her phone buzzed. Her mother's face filled the screen. Calling from Cape Town despite the expensive international rates. Mama, I can't talk now. The interview. I'm praying, Cece. God sees you. He's been seeing you all along. Thandi's throat tightened. I have to go. I love you. She hung up before her mother could hear her voice break. The train announcer called Gangnam station in Korean, and Thandi pushed through the crowd, her heart hammering against her ribs. 12 minutes. She could make it. She had to make it. Across the city, in the back of a bulletproof Mercedes G-Wagon, Kang Min-Jun ended a phone call that would ruin 3 lives by noon. Tell Choi his debt is due. I don't care about his daughter's hospital bills. He knew the terms. He disconnected without waiting for a response. Beside him, his right-hand man Dae-hyun shifted uncomfortably, his hand resting near the concealed weapon at his hip. Hyungnim, the Buffaloes want to renegotiate the Busan port access. Min-Jun's laugh was cold, empty of humor. The Buffaloes can want a lot of things. Wanting doesn't make it so. At 26, Kang Min-Jun had built an empire on fear and precision. On the surface, JK Pharmaceuticals was legitimate, a multi-billion-won corporation his grandfather had founded. But beneath the polished veneer of boardrooms and pharmaceutical patents lay the real source of his power, one of the most sophisticated mafia networks in East Asia. Drugs, weapons, information. He dealt in all three with equal ruthlessness. His phone buzzed again. He glanced at it, a threat from a rival gang in Incheon. He didn't bother responding. By tonight, that gang would cease to exist. The morning sun glinted off the skyscrapers of Gangnam, the district he controlled like a king controls his kingdom, his empire. He touched the scar that ran along his jawline, a souvenir from a turf war 5 years ago, the last time someone had been foolish enough to challenge him directly. Sir, we're approaching the HK building. Your meeting with the Chinese distributors is in 40 minutes. Min-Jun nodded, his mind already calculating, strategizing. Emotions were liabilities. Love was weakness. Trust was a weapon your enemies used to destroy you. He'd learned that lesson when he'd buried his younger brother 8 years ago, killed by men who'd once called themselves allies. The Mercedes turned onto the main boulevard. Outside, ordinary people scurried to their ordinary jobs, living ordinary lives. Min-Jun had stopped being ordinary the day his brother's blood had stained his hands. Thandi burst from the subway station at 8:47 a.m. The pharmaceuticals tower loomed ahead, all glass and steel ambition, 6 blocks away. 13 minutes. She could run it. Her heels weren't ideal, but she'd run in worse. She clutched her portfolio and broke into a sprint, weaving through the morning crowd. Her braided hair, twisted into a professional bun, began to slip. Sweat beaded on her forehead despite the cool October air. Please God, just this once. Just let me make it. 8 blocks. 7. 6. Then the world exploded. The sound came first, metal screaming against metal, glass shattering like 1,000 crystal bells breaking at once. The Mercedes G-Wagon flipped, struck by a massive delivery truck that had blown through a red light. The vehicle rolled twice before slamming into a traffic light pole. Smoke billowed from the crushed hood. Gasoline, acrid and dangerous, filled the air. Thandi froze, her chest heaving 50 meters away. Around her, the crowd scattered. Some screamed. Most pulled out phones, filming, recording, creating content from catastrophe. A woman shouted in Korean, "Bull! Bull! Fire!" Sparks flew from the destroyed engine. Thandi's watch read 8:52. 8 minutes until her interview. 8 minutes until everything she'd sacrificed for would either materialize or evaporate. Her feet moved toward the subway station, away from the wreck, toward her future. But then she saw him. Through the spider-webbed, blood-splattered window of the Mercedes, a man slumped against the deployed airbag. Blood streamed from a gash across his forehead. His eyes were closed. His body was still, too still. The crowd backed away further. The smoke thickened. Someone screamed about an explosion. Thandi looked at her watch. 8:53. She looked at the tower 5 blocks away. She looked at the man dying. Ish Njathanda Yukufala, she whispered, a prayer in Zulu. God help me live with this choice. Then she ran, not away from the wreck but toward it. The heat hit her first. The Mercedes's engine was cooking itself, the smell of burning oil mixing with gasoline fumes. Thandi grabbed the door handle. Locked. No, 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 oh my God. She yelled. She yanked harder. The metal was warped, jammed from the impact. Around her, people shouted warnings in Korean. A man grabbed her arm trying to pull her back. She shook him off. There's someone inside, she screamed in Korean, her accent thick but comprehensible. The man's grip loosened. No one else moved forward. Thandi braced her foot against the Mercedes's frame and pulled with everything she had. Her palm burnt by the heat. Then it slipped on blood, someone else's blood from the outside of the door. She pulled again. The door gave way with a metallic shriek. The man inside was larger than she'd expected. Broad shoulders, expensive suit soaked in blood, face partially obscured by the deflated airbag. But it was his hand she noticed first, scarred knuckles, a tattoo of a serpent coiling around his wrist. Yakuza? No, Korean, a PA member. Gang affiliated. For a split second she hesitated. Then his eyes opened, dark, unfocused, struggling to find consciousness. And she saw not a gangster but a human being bleeding out. Appa! She shouted, using the respectful term. Stay with me. Look at me. He mumbled something in Korean she couldn't catch. His seatbelt was jammed. She fumbled with the buckle, her fingers slick with blood. His blood, now mixing with the cuts on her hands from the broken glass. Behind her someone screamed. Flames licked from beneath the hood. The seatbelt released. The man's full weight collapsed against her, and she staggered, her knees buckling. He was solid muscle, easily 80 kilograms. She looped his arm around her shoulders, her blazer tearing on the jagged door frame. Come on, she grunted, dragging him backward. Move your feet. Help me. Hamba. His legs moved sluggishly, as if his body was remembering how to respond. Together they stumbled away from the Mercedes. 10 meters. 20. 30. She lowered him onto the concrete sidewalk, her hands immediately pressing against the gash on his forehead. Blood pulsed between her fingers, much blood. Her scarf, the silk one her mother had sent for her birthday, became a makeshift bandage. The crimson soaked through instantly. His hand found hers, gripping with surprising strength. His eyes, clearer now, locked onto her face. Who? His voice was rough, accented. Who are you? He said in a dying voice. Not important now, sire, Thandi said, her voice breaking on a laugh that was half-sob. Sirens wailed in the distance. The man's other hand reached up, his bloodied fingers touching her cheek, leaving a streak of red across her dark skin. Let go, he coughed, his tone carrying an authority that even blood loss couldn't diminish. Tell me your name. The ambulance screeched to a stop. Paramedics swarmed, professional hands taking over, pushing her aside. She stumbled backward, suddenly aware of everything. Her ruined blazer, her blood-soaked blouse, her shaking hands. Her watch read 9:04. 4 minutes late. Too late. One paramedic fired questions at her in rapid Korean, too fast, too much. She shook her head, backing into the crowd. The man was being loaded onto a stretcher, oxygen mask covering his face. But his eyes, they were searching, scanning the crowd frantically, looking for her. Their gazes met one final time across the chaos. Something passed between them, recognition without context, connection without logic. Then Thandi turned and ran. She ran until her lungs burned, until glass towers faded behind her, until she crashed into an alley and slid down cold brick. And that's when she broke. Her phone buzzed in her shaking hand. An email. She already knew it was bad, but she opened it anyway. Dear Ms. Mbatha, due to your absence from today's interview, we've chosen another candidate. That was it. No mercy. No second chance. Just one quiet paragraph, erasing months of hope. A broken laugh escaped her lips. She stared at the thin strip of sky above the alley and whispered, so this is how dreams die. Thandi slid down the wall until she was sitting on the cold ground. Her hands were still shaking, still covered in a stranger's blood. Somewhere across this massive city, that man was being stitched back together. And she? She was falling apart. The apartment Thandi shared with 2 other foreign workers felt like a prison cell. Her roommate, Amara, a Nigerian nurse, stood in the doorway with her arms crossed, and her expression torn between sympathy and frustration. Thandi, you cannot keep doing this. Doing what? Saving people's lives. Thandi's voice was hollow. She sat on her narrow bed, staring at the rejection email for the 100th time. Sacrificing yourself for strangers, gosh. That's the worst I'll ever do. Amara sat beside her. You had one chance. One. And you threw it away for a man you don't even know. She slammed her palms together. He was dying. And now your visa is dying. 2 weeks, Thandi. Then what? Back to Johannesburg with nothing but debt and broken dreams. Thandi's hands clenched into fists. You think I don't know that? You think I don't regret it? But even as she said it, she knew it was a lie. She'd seen his eyes. She'd felt his hand grip hers. She'd made a choice and felt delighted she had saved a life. Her phone rang. It was her mother. Thandi let it go to voicemail. She couldn't bear to hear the hope in her mother's voice. Couldn't bear to crush it with the truth. Amara stood. You should have at least gotten his name. Maybe he's grateful. Maybe he could help. Men like that don't help people like me. They forget, what if he is dead as we're talking? But Amara didn't know what Thandi had seen. The tattoo, the expensive suit, the way his bodyguard's hand had been positioned near a weapon. That man wasn't ordinary. That man was dangerous. And Thandi had already lost everything. She didn't need danger on top of devastation. White light burned behind Kang Min-Jun's eyelids. The steady beep, beep, beep dragged him back from nothingness. Pain followed immediately, sharp, crushing, unforgiving. Ribs on fire. Head wrapped tight. Air barely entering his lungs. Hospital. Across the room, a man shot to his feet. Gangnam, you're awake. Daehyun's face looked older than it should, sleepless, strained, afraid. Min-Jun forced his eyes open. How long? 8 hours. Doctors said. I don't care about the doctors, he snapped. His voice came out rough like gravel. Where's the truck driver? Daehyun's jaw tightened. Dead on impact. Then softer, darker. It wasn't an accident. The brakes were sabotaged. Someone tried to kill you. Min-Jun exhaled slowly. An assassination attempt wasn't shocking. Just inconvenient. The buffaloes? He asked. We're checking. Then Daehyun hesitated. There's something else. He reached into his pocket and brought out his phone. Someone recorded this. The screen lit up. Flames. Shattered glass. Smoke rolling into the Seoul night. And her. A woman in a torn blazer, skin glowing with sweat. Dragging Min-Jun's unconscious body across burning pavement. Alone. Panicking. Refusing to leave him. She pulled you out, Daehyun whispered. 90 seconds later, the car exploded. Min-Jun stared. The way her hand shook as she pressed against his bleeding head. The way tears streaked down her face. The way she screamed at him not to die. Who is she? Min-Jun asked. Daehyun shook his head. We don't know. She ran before anyone caught her name. But if she's connected to this. She isn't. Daehyun blinked. Sir. Min-Jun's voice lowered. Firmer. Colder. I remember her eyes, he said. She wasn't afraid for herself. He swallowed. She was afraid for me. The room fell silent. Find her, Min-Jun said quietly. Daehyun hesitated. The buffaloes. Can wait. Min-Jun's gaze hardened. She pulled me out of death. His voice dropped into something dangerous. And no one saves me. Without being found. For 12 days, Seoul did not sleep. Kang Min-Jun's network lit up the city like a battlefield map. Cameras, contacts, silence bought with money. Every second of that morning was replayed. Every face froze and zoomed. Every angle hunted. Witnesses were questioned. Paramedics tracked down. Street vendors. Taxi drivers. Tourists. Anyone who might have seen her. And slowly, painfully, the picture formed. A foreign woman. African. South African, not native. Business clothes. Running as if late. Too late, too hasty. On the 5th day, one of Min-Jun's texts found something. A reflection. Blink and miss it. In a store window 3 blocks away. Her face. They enhanced it. Stabilized it. Ran it through every system they had access to: immigration, border control, international work visas. Nothing. She doesn't exist, the text said. Either she was using a fake identity, or she was hiding because time itself was hunting her. Min-Jun stared at her image on the screen. Even in pixels she was striking. Strong jaw. Sharp eyes. A woman who didn't fold when life pressed down. So why had she run? Boss, she might have been sent by the buffaloes. One of his men thundered. The 8th day. Another miracle. A camera inside a building caught her fleeing into a subway station. 13 minutes after she saved his life. She disappeared underground. They followed the trail the old way. Subway logs. Transit cards. Exit points. And it led to one place. Itaewon. Seoul's international district. Where a person could be anyone. Or no one at all. Night of the 12th day. Min-Jun stood outside a quiet apartment building. 4th floor. Apartment 412. Lights on. She's inside, Daehyun murmured. 2 roommates. Foreign workers. But she's home tonight. Min-Jun looked up. His ribs still burned when he breathed. The stitches across his forehead still pulled tight. But that pain didn't matter. He needed her. 12 nights. 12 days. Her hands on his bloody face. Her voice screaming him back to life. Her tears falling on his skin. And then the truth hit harder than any bullet. She'd missed a job interview. Her visa was about to expire. She'd received a rejection that same morning. She had been running toward a future. And instead, she ran into his destruction. She lost everything. To save a stranger. Min-Jun's jaw tightened. The debt twisted inside him like a blade. "Let's go," he said, and stepped toward her door.